Today's July 7th, 2017. It's the Investitute podcast. 7-7-17. John, you're not flying off to Pamplona to run with the Bulls, are you?
No. Hopefully I'll run with the Bulls anyway. But no.
Hey, I like that.
Well, life is all about plan Bs. Isn't that what you said too, Andrew?
Yeah, that's true. True.
Well, so my plan B was I need to get down to Florida to speak to some clients. Luckily, Jet Smarter had a few open seats on a charter. Somebody chartered one from Trenton, New Jersey down to Sarasota. So I'll be jumping on that plane down to Sarasota, speak to some clients there, then head down to Naples, which is about an hour and a half south of Sarasota, and speak to some clients down there tomorrow, Saturday, and then fly home Saturday night.
So you kind of are running with the Bulls, sort of.
Running with the Bulls, or at least flying with the
Bulls.
About that.
So how many people will be on the plane?
There'll probably be about 6 or 8 of us.
Okay.
I think it's a 12-seater, but
Nice.
It'll be nice. It's so much the experience is so much nicer to be on private when you can, and especially through something like Jet Smarter. Yeah, well, you don't have the hassles at the airport with the TSA. Luggage isn't a problem. I mean, everything's easier. It's just so much better. So that's what we're doing.
Hey, yesterday we talked about the whales. We were about to tell a story about some of the whales in Vegas. Did you want to continue that story? Since we're off Bulls, since we're on animals, we might as well go from bulls to whales.
We'll go but at least they're both mammals.
Oh yes, of course.
So yeah, Andrew and I were out there at this big party in Vegas, and there were a lot of traders and big investors, and that's kind of our cup of tea. Andrew and I love being with those folks. They end up being pretty interesting and a lot of fun. And it so happens, Andrew, that one of these big whales, who's probably our biggest client,
okay,
had some was drawing down on a couple of his markers, and he was down 6 figures at 2 different casinos. Not exactly having a good time. I mean, he was still, doing his thing, but he wasn't. Nobody has a good time when they're losing money. It happens to all of us. Especially if you're a gambler, you got to put up with it, because no matter what system you've got, there are going to be times when it's working against you, right?
Oh yeah, I do know this.
Yeah, well, so he ends up at this table with us, and he was kind of licking his wounds because that hurts. Those are big numbers. And all of a sudden, this young guy gets the die at a craps table. And the average time, if you're not a real gambler, folks, if you're not Dan Bilzerian on this podcast, the average person at a craps table probably holds the dice for less than 2 minutes, because, you throw some numbers, and as soon as you throw certain numbers, I'm not going to go into all of it, you give up the dice. You lose. Now, if you're betting with the shooter, you lose as well. And of course, you can bet with every new number that comes up that the shooter throws, and that's what a lot of people do. So the shooter throws a 6, the shooter throws a 5, the shooter throws a 7, various numbers. Certain numbers you throw, you lose. The others you can bet with the shooter and hope that he hits that one again, or she hits that one again, in which case, of course, you win. Anyway, so this young guy gets the die, and like I say, the average is less than 2 minutes. This guy gets the die, and he's throwing great numbers and then hitting them. And then guys are betting, I'm betting on the hard way, I'm betting on this and that, and so forth and so on. So 15 minutes later, he's still holding the die.
Wow.
Our guy has made back both the couple $100,000 that he's down to these 2 casinos. he's made that back. So you probably expect that he walks away, right? Walks away happy, thank God,
Of
right?
course not.
Of course not. Because, of course, the gambling mentality is such that if this kid's a hot, thrower, you're going to stick with him. And again, just pull up some Dan Bilzerian videos or whatever, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And because Dan does, craps, poker,
he's a
you
craps
name it.
guy,
He'll bet on anything. Well, and he'll bet on himself riding a bike from Vegas to L.A.
Oh, yeah.
I think he made a couple million on that bet. But anyway, another crazy Armenian. But so our buddy's there at the table. This kid's throwing. Now, if you're with this kid and, betting with him, just like in Vegas Vacation, you're betting with this kid. Now the guy's up a couple six figures, and he keeps throwing. The kid held the table for 57 minutes.
Wow.
So if you were betting with him and you were betting size and the kid's on the table for 57 minutes, you get an idea that this guy really nailed him. And it was just a thing of beauty. It was like, 2:30 in the morning, but you would have thought that it was 8 o'clock at night because there were so many people screaming around the table and everybody's making money except the casino. And they're just hoping, that his luck changes. Eventually it does. And of course he loses the dice. But for 7 minutes, he hit whatever he had to hit to keep the dice. That was just an amazing roll. And those are the guys you want to be betting with.
Well,
if you've ever been at a craps table and you see that, that's why people run over when they hear a guy, a crowd screaming around a craps table.
I like it. That makes me want to wonder, when's the next Investitute conference out in Vegas? That sounds like a sounds like a good segue.
This fall, it might be this fall. We're talking about it, but then again, it might be next in 2018. We're already looking at May of 2018 out in Vegas, but we're going to try to have one in Vegas, May 2018, and one somewhere else, whether it's Florida, Texas,
Hawaii, Japan,
or New York, Hawaii. No, it won't be Hawaii. Hawaii's great, but yeah, we're not going to do an Investitute thing there, probably. Not for a few years.
Only Pete and I would show up.
Oh, we'd all love to be there, but try getting some work done.
I know. We wouldn't.
But there were some trades today, too, Andrew.
What'd you do today?
I mean, good employment number.
I know.
Take a look at the TBT. TBT is a leveraged, 2 times levered 20-year bond, inverse. So if you think that rates are going to continue to rise, then this TBT continues to rise. If you're thinking that rates might pull back a little after this nice little pop, which happens to be what I think, I believe what Jeff Gunlock thinks as well, then you might want to pay attention to somebody who bought like 36,000 of the July 37 puts with the index trading right around 37.10. So in other words, this thing moved up from 34 to 37, Andrew, $3. That's a lot for a 10%, let's call it. That's a lot for a double levered ETF move on the bond space, because bonds haven't moved very much. But this is double levered. So
that's still a lot.
Somebody bets that they pull back from 37.10. Maybe they bet that it retraces half of it to 35.50. How about that? Went from 34 to 37. What if it pulls back to 35.50? Well, then your number, your puts would move up pretty dramatically. And that was the bet that somebody placed big time today in the TBT. We'll see. I did a little bit of that, but I have one that I did a lot of, Andrew, the DHI, which is D.R. Horton, home builder.
Yeah.
Big buyers out in January at the 39 strike for a $35 index, a $35 stock. So I jumped on that, and I think that one, I turned it into a call spread already. I bought the calls as it rallied. I sold a call above the strike that I own. So I set myself up in a call vertical spread because those are what I like. Andrew's more of a naked options guy.
I know.
But I'm more of a spread guy.
naked stock guy too. I'm not doing so good on some of my stuff today, but I did keep American Airlines, so I'm doing good.
That's working for you.
Yeah, that's saving my ass is what it is. All right, well, sounds like you've got your whole weekend planned and you've got your week all squared away. And I think we're done for the week for our
all right.
podcast.
Well, remember, folks, you know what? We're going to have a surprise for you next week. How about this, Andrew? We're going to get Reform Broker Josh Brown on the podcast.
Yeah. He's okay with
that. I told
you
we'd have a surprise for you, folks. We're going to get Josh Brown on, I think, Monday on the podcast. And so a funnier guy, also very smart, but a funnier guy you will not find in the financial space. And he's a good guy, too. And I think Andrew and I are going to bounce around some stuff with Josh on Monday. And if you guys like it, we'll bring him back a lot because I think he can offer some nice insight that's different from the options-centric view that Andrew and I take in the markets. But Josh is a good guy, and I think that could be a pretty fun, not really a partnership, but sort of a joint broadcast. How about that?
All right. Sounds good. Stay tuned until Monday.
Remember, you can subscribe through iTunes or YouTube. Tell a friend about it. Be safe. Have a great weekend, everyone.